Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. I believe Cardano has stopped in this third wave to the upside because if you take a Fibonacci retracement of this 1-2 setup, we got way above the 200% extension of that, which means the third wave got way above its needed targets. So yeah, we're currently in a fourth wave to the downside. Support for this is between 86.3 cents and 82 cents, but I would like to see the price get a reaction, maybe at the 50% support level, which is at 83.3 cents. And after that, I'm gonna give you a target for the fifth wave. I think the target will probably be somewhere between 90 cents and maybe even 93 cents. So it should be completed in that area. It should break above the resistance levels on the chart. As you can see, we got rejected by the 618 right here, which has been on the chart for quite some time, which makes sense because, this is also where the red trend line is, and the red trend line is important because this is where we got rejected a bunch of times in the past. It connects to these highs right here and to some other highs, and it also connects to the previous 2021 all-time high. So there's obviously going to be resistance here, but I think once we break above it and then we get some kind of ABC to the downside and use it as support, that could be the perfect reason to actually get a bounce, which in my opinion needs to put us above the 618 resistance level of the previous all-time high at $1.14, and then could put us in this region for the third wave of this 1-2 setup on the chart. But again, if we do not manage to hold support levels, maybe the wave count is wrong, maybe the first wave is already in, meaning this was an ABC structure for 1, right now we're in 2, which means we're going to get an ABC to the downside, and if that is the case, the support zone is going to have to be a bit extended to the downside, meaning it's going to be like this, so between, let's say, 85 cents and 80 cents. But even if that is the case, right now we need to hold above 80 cents, because if we do not, the structure could turn into a much bigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which could put us at 72 cents to complete the C wave right there, meaning that the C wave has not already bottomed, and this was not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meaning that we could get to 72 cents to complete the C wave, which means that the C wave has not bottomed over here, and this was not some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this was actually only a 3-wave move, and right now we could be in the fourth and the fifth. Target zone is right there between 73.9 cents and 68.7 cents, but we are probably gonna get a reaction to either the 200-day moving average or the 50% support level right there if we actually go down. Obviously, we do not have to go down, and this is just my opinion. It's not financial advice or anything, but I don't think we're gonna get another low, because if you look at the Bitcoin monthly returns chart, it always goes up in October, and I talked about this last week as well, but each time we do well in October, the altcoins tend to also go up, so I think there is a very small chance of getting another low right now. If you look at the weekly returns chart, well, actually before I do that, let's first look at 2021. Here on the monthly returns chart, we went up about 40% in October, in 2017 we went up 47%, and in 2013 we went up 60%. As you can see, we always go up quite a lot on the Bitcoin chart. So far we are up about 7%, meaning that let's say we go up another 20% or even 30% this month, and that's gonna put us at about $160,000 by the end of November. So this is why I think $200,000 is not too unrealistic for the end of the cycle. I've had that target for a long time at this point, and I'm gonna change it. So if Bitcoin is at like $160,000, then obviously Cardano will probably not drop to 72 cents. But during that time, when Bitcoin gets to new all-time highs, Bitcoin dominance might get a reaction, or at least a rally, to the bull market support band or even the 200-day moving average, which could put us, in this region between, let's say, 63% or, in the worst case scenario, even 66% to get some kind of double top before we start the altcoin season. But this is still pretty okay, because we are still expecting Ethereum to break all-time highs pretty soon. And historically, the altcoin season only happens after Ethereum breaks above its previous all-time highs. Right now we're still below them, so I think we're fine, but obviously at some point Bitcoin dominance will break down, because that's what happens every single cycle. And going back to the weekly returns chart right here on the Bitcoin chart, right now we are in the 39th week, we are already up about 8%, but if you look at 2021, 2017 and 2013, all of these years have something in common. We always started going up in the 39th week. And why is that? Because this is when October started. In 2021, we went up about 12% a week. In 2017, it was about 20% a week, and in 2013, it was more or less, let's say, on average, about 15% a week, except for this right here, which I think was only red because the previous week was green, unlike, for example, 2017, where the previous week was red, and the exact same thing was happening in 2021 as well. So I think 2025 is probably following what we did in 2021 and 2017, meaning that we're about to have a bunch of crazy wicks on the Bitcoin chart, which means that during that time, Bitcoin might outperform the market, but that does not mean that the market has to go down, or at least that does not mean that altcoins have to go to new lows, because that's not how it works. Usually when Bitcoin dominance goes up, it's because Bitcoin is just, too strong. And obviously, even if that happens again, I'm gonna have to tell you this for the 5th time right now, but at some point, Bitcoin dominance will break down, because that's what happens every single cycle. If you do not believe me, let's go to the daily chart for this. Actually, let's go on the weekly because it's way better to see. So here, for example, in 2021, we only started this move to the downside after Bitcoin kept breaking its all-time highs and after Ethereum did the exact same thing. That's also what happened in 2017 when we had this drop right here in December. This only happened after Bitcoin topped, so I think Bitcoin for the time being is gonna outperform the altcoins, but that's not really a bad thing because the next couple of months are gonna be bullish. I think Bitcoin will probably top in either November or December of this year, and the altcoins will top in January like they did, for example, in 2017. The altcoins only had the altcoin season start at the end of December, or at least I think that is the case. No, this was the beginning of December, so yeah, we're not late right now, and an altcoin season usually only lasts about, let's say, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, maybe best case scenario. So this means we have a lot of time left, and I think Bitcoin dominance is still gonna be at 41%, or let's say between 45% and 41% by January of 2026, which also lines up perfectly with the fact that I'm expecting the altcoins to be at all-time highs by that time. So I'm not gonna give you financial advice, but I'm only gonna start taking profits on my Cardano gains once Bitcoin dominance is at these lows right here. There's no point in taking profits right now, at least in my opinion. Again, not financial advice. And that's it for this. Now let's go to the weekly chart on the ADA chart because there's something important here. We are still below the moving average right there, so we need to get above that, and I think if we do, that could lead to a pretty significant move to the upside. By the way, I talked about this I think last week or something, but I talked about the fact that we had a cross on the bull market support band about 78 days ago. And why is that important? Because last year it took about 78 days to get a pump after the cross, and right now it has been 78 days, meaning that the pump that we had over there could start. But also we're expecting Bitcoin to outperform the altcoin market if Bitcoin dominance breaks above the moving average on the weekly RSI right there. So I'm not sure how it's gonna play out exactly, but if ADA starts going up right now, and if Ethereum and the other altcoins already start outperforming Bitcoin, it's gonna be fine. But if Bitcoin starts outperforming the altcoin market for like 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 or 4 weeks, it's still gonna be fine because we just had that cross on the bull market support band. I don't think we're gonna get another cross anytime soon because ADA keeps closing wicks above the bull market support band. So if the pump that we had over here happens right now, or if it happens at the end of October, just like it did, for example, right here, then it's still gonna be okay. And for the time being, I think ADA is doing fine. By the way, speaking of this over here, like I said, this move started at the end of October, and that's exactly what happened over here in 2023 as well. Although here we started it in the middle of October, so usually ADA starts going up like crazy in either October or at the end of October. Right now we just started the month, so I think we are doing pretty fine. We are still in the exact same 1-2-1-2 setup, and my next targets are at $3.50. This is probably a 1-2 setup of the much bigger third, meaning we're gonna start the third wave of the third wave of the third wave, we're gonna get a fourth wave with the downside, and the fifth wave could put us at around $3.50 to complete the much bigger third wave. So after that, obviously, we're gonna get a fourth wave with the downside, which I'm gonna have a support zone for. And after the fourth wave, I think getting to $5 by the end of January is still pretty realistic, even though it might not seem like it, because everyone is only focusing on the 2021 cycle, and everyone is talking about the fact that 4 years ago ADA was already at all-time highs. But what people don't want to mention is that in 2017, ADA only started going up in December. As you can see, we were at about 8 cents. This is when Bitcoin dominance was still at cycle highs, and when Bitcoin dominance dropped, ADA went to about $1.30. If you don't realize how much this was a pretty significant move to the upside. It was a 1,800% move to the upside in a matter of like 4 weeks. So that's why I think getting to like $5 is still a very realistic target. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.